minutes. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-host Pete Visco and the birthday boy at the bottom, Paul Halloran. Thanks for joining us, everyone, especially on the West Coast, listening and watching on Santa Anita's YouTube channel and Santa Anita's X handle. We are here for the very last time this winter and spring. It's a sad moment, but it's also a celebration of a fantastic Hollywood meet as Santa Anita, the great race place, closes their Hollywood meet this Sunday on Father's Day. And we are here, of course, for episode 24 of Great Race Plays to give you some excellent analysis and handicapping regarding the late pick for Sunday at Santa Anita. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We got a great tip sheet. Look below the video player. We've given out many very good winners on our tip sheet regarding Santa Anita, and we have exciting stuff coming up for Del Mar next month as well. The tip sheet's very profitable, very inexpensive. Look below the video player underneath the description to find out about our Power Picks tip sheet. We've got a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. And to celebrate our very last great race plays of this winter and spring into early summer, let me bring on a gentleman from DRF and Santa Anita who's done a great job, not only on this show, but many other avenues. It's a great pleasure to have him on for our final Great Race Place episode from SoCal, Gino Picola. What's up, Gino? How you doing?
Good. Hope everybody's doing well, and a happy birthday, Paul. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see if we can get some of that birthday luck for us all this weekend and close out very strong. And you know what, Howard, I agree with the comment that you made. It was a strong Hollywood meet. Honestly, it's been a really strong kind of 6 months, even from the very beginning of opening day. A good energy all throughout the meet at Santa Anita. The handle was up, the attendance was up. Just seems like they were trying some new wagers that were a little more player friendly. Like everything overall, really good vibes. And honestly, it hadn't always been that way the last few years in Southern California. So I feel really good about the meet coming out and kind of the momentum leading into Del Mar.
Totally agree with you. And before I forget, I know I speak for Pete and Paul and everyone on the podcast, you know, in saying this, but I want to give a big thanks and shout out. I hope they hear this or watch the show or get wind of it, to Andrew Arthur, the director of marketing at Santa Anita, and Jeff Chapman, player relations. Both those gentlemen gave us the opportunity, Gino, here on the HHH Racing Podcast, to give us corporate track sponsorship, which was one of the goals of my podcast from day one. And to have such an esteemed place like Santa Anita, Pete and Paul, it was really special this past winter and spring. I'm sure you guys would agree.
Yeah, definitely. Although, Gino, you forgot to mention that all the good vibes at Santa Anita are once we joined as a partner.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
No
coincidence. I don't want to say it was the only reason, but since we've said that on every other 23 shows, we might as well do it for the last one as well.
And shout out to Andrew Arthur. We went to high school together. He was 1 year below me at LaSalle High School. And actually, one of the jobs on student council is the commissioner of publicity, where you set up the rallies and you are like the MC at a lot of the events. That was my job. And then Andrew Arthur had that job the year after. So I trained him to be the same thing, and we worked together a lot of times. So I actually knew Artie for quite a while. That's what he was back in high school. He was Artie to everybody, but loved working with him and with Chappie as well. Great guys, really strong team over at Santa Anita, and we love working with them over there.
Look at the proud alumni. LaSalle, what was the nickname?
LaSalle High School. We were the Lancers. Yeah,
Lancers. There we go. I love it.
And we were just 5 minutes up from Santa Anita. So when I was a junior and senior, I actually went off campus lunch to Santa Anita, could make some bets and could come back to the track. So we were that close.
Sounds good to me. I wish there was a racetrack close to. Actually, I'm glad there wasn't. That might have been an issue for me. Last thing I do want to say, and Pete and Paul, we didn't bring this up on our picks and ponies shows. I should have, and Gino might be interested in this. We have two Royal Ascot shows coming up. One is going to be this Sunday. I know Sunday is not an ideal day, but we have Emmett Kennedy, who is an excellent podcaster of the Final Furlong podcast based in Ireland, and he is a Euro expert. So we're going to be on Sunday early afternoon. I think it's 4 p.m. Eastern schedule right now for a preview of day 1 and day 2 of the big races at Ascot, many of the group races and some other races throughout the week. And then next Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, live right here, one of the very few North American podcasts that we're going to have live. We're going to be live as the races go on. Royal Ascot starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's 6 out there, Gino. I got to get up early for those Royal Ascot races with our good friend, excellent UK punter and handicapper Davey Lane. He's going to be on live with us, Pete and Paul, to go through the first about 4 races on Tuesday, starring, as I'm sure most people know, in the Queen Anne, the first race of the meet traditionally at Royal Ascot, Carl Spackler taking on some of the monsters in Europe. It's going to be very exciting, Gino. He's got a tough task, but just the fact that, you know, he's bought by a new ownership and they're willing to run him in a serious Group 1 is pretty exciting for American racing fans.
And as you pointed out, they don't build to the big races. They get started right away with their most prestigious Group 1s. They smack you in the face with them. And we're going to have a lot of kind of built up coverage this year from Daily Racing Form. I know we've already started putting previews up of all the individual races, previews of the barns and all the horses that they're going to have. And so if you need a little bit of help, if you're someone who, I'm sure watching this show, you play a lot of the races in the US and maybe you're not as familiar with those horses, there's going to be a lot of information for you on drf.com and the past performances to help you out, because I'll be up early playing next week and firing away as well.
There you go. And I just so people know, of course, DRF has been sponsoring us the last about month or two. Greatly appreciate that. And Gino, appreciate that as well. There will be American style PPs from DRF for Royal Ascot. The declarations, what they call it out there, the actual fields are 48 hours in advance UK time, which means approximately 2:30 or around 2 to 3 o'clock on Sunday UK British time is when the fields are going to be set. So I'm assuming here in the States, those PPs will be out through DRF Sunday night. Usually, Gino, they're out. So you have, more than 24 hours to take a look at those if you're someone else look at the form lines in a traditional USA PP style.
Yep, and you've done this dance before. Most of the races and most of the fields, they'll have a pretty good idea of who's going to run. So you can check out lists of horses that they've been accumulating, and you'll see there are going to be 15, 20 horses in some of these fields, massive fields, real quality runners. It's an absolute blast just to watch too. Even if you're not going to be firing away that much, have a little bit of money left in your account, take a dabble. There'll be some horses you're familiar with, and it'll be kind of fun to be up in the morning watching the real pomp and circumstance of everything next week.
Oh, absolutely. Matt Miller, a big fan of the show, great friend of mine and everyone. Thanks for doing the Santa Anita shows for the season. Much appreciated. Gino, I'm not just saying this because you're here. Almost every week we have someone in the chat saying I'm playing Santa Anita more because I'm watching the HHH Racing podcast. I play Sundays more because Sunday can be a tricky day. I am Sinatra, looking forward to this. I'm going to Santa Anita for the first time. Wow, on Saturday. Nice. Can't wait to play live all weekend. Any quick tips or food suggestions for I Am Sinatra, Gino?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm actually going to be doing the pre-race seminar with Tom Quigley on Saturday. So you'll be able to hear me out there giving out like tips all over. One place that I really like, it's only about 5 minutes away down the street. It's called Clearman's Northwoods Inn. It's one of those places that's got like the peanut shells that you throw on the floor. It's a good steakhouse, like incredible cheese bread, like the best cheese bread that you'll get. They give you this cheese butter to put in your baked potatoes. It's also amazing. So you want to check that out just a few minutes down the road. Clearman's Northwoods Inn.
Interesting. All right. Very, very interesting suggestion. Next time I'm out at Santa Anita, I'm going to have to check that out. All right. Let's get into the late pick 4. Now, I also, Pete and Paul, as we get into handicapping here, sometimes Sunday late pick 4s can be, hats off to Santa Anita. Some of these sequences we have done, guys, have been really good with bigger fields. This is the same for a closing weekend. By the way, Matt Miller suggests the Arroyo Chop House if you have a winning day. That'd be also good, right? Gino?
Absolutely. Would second that one as well. And, the one that I think a lot of people would recommend, especially if you're a horse racing fan, is the Derby. You're right down the way. That's a great one too. Steakhouse, great lobster. They have a baked Alaska dessert. That's really, really good too. So, and you get the ambiance of the racetrack. So that's right down the street too. We gave you 3 different options for your couple days if you head out to Santa Anita.
By the way, and you got to watch Pacific Horse Players if you need some help on the Saturday late pick 5 at Santa Anita.
Yes,
there you go. You got to plug those guys too. Go ahead, Howard.
Absolutely. A younger guys Pacific Horse Player show, Gino. I think you've been on it once or twice. I think they
Love
covered the
talking
late
with
pick
those
5
guys.
Saturday. And actually, I'm going to be on tomorrow night, Friday night, as we're filming here Thursday night, but Friday night on the Santa Anita YouTube channel. I'll be on with, I don't know if Gino's going to be on or not, but Jeff Chapman in the group to talk about the late pick 5 Saturday at Santa Anita. So all hands on deck. The Derby's a cool place. I had a little name drop. I sat at the bar with Ron Ellis and Kurt Hoover, my first time ever in when I went to Santa Anita in 2018 or 19. I think it was my first
I'd imagine
time.
No drinks were had with those two sitting next to them.
They bought
at
me
the
a
bar.
drink. So
I
saw
exactly.
from Chicago. Kurt's like, let me get you a beverage. So
Exactly.
appreciate that, Kurt.
Couple great guys.
All right. Late pick 4 Sunday starts with a grade 3. How about that? The San Juan Capistrano traditional closing day race at Santa Anita. It's $100,000. They're going about 1 3/4 miles. And I believe, Gino, correct me if I'm wrong, this starts actually at the top of the hill where the 6.5 furlong race starts, I believe.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay, that's what I thought.
It is.
But they're going to hit the finish line. Don't cheer, because they're going to go around again in the San Juan Capistrano.
Or more importantly, don't rip your tickets up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can cheer, but you might, as long as you still win the next time around. But don't rip your tickets up. Then you might be in some trouble.
That's a good point, Pete. Let's see. 1 3/4. Let me go ahead and show who we've got here. And I have Gino's picks also. It starts in race 9, by the way. It's a 12 race card, by the way, guys. Sunday, closing day, which is awesome. I am going in this race 8-7-6. Paul's going 7-6-1. Pete's going 6-7-1. And Gino's going 7-4-1. Gino is your guest, or our guest. You're going to start first. Gino, I got to tell you, I've got a whiplash with Devine Propos. I've chased this horse so many freaking times. They don't know if they want to go a mile and 1/8. Maybe they need to go 3 miles. Maybe they need to go hurdles with this horse. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? But he is talented. There's no doubt about it. He's just been goofy and not been able to get the job done. This is one of the easier spots he's been in. The only real question to me is the distance right for him.
Completely agree with everything you said. If you're someone who plays trips, you've chased him at least a few times where he's gotten in trouble. He's he's just a tricky horse to ride too, right? We can see that he's not the easiest to ride. I think that now going longer, it'll be a little bit easier because I feel like they don't have to grab a hold of him as much now. His 2, I think, best races that he's run in the U.S. actually have been at 1.5 miles. That San Luis Rey 2 starts back, he was actually really wide. He waited way too long to move. He was sitting like 3 or 4 deep, and he waited, and then he moved and he opened up a couple lengths, but you knew that he was going to get caught because he was just wide throughout. And as you were pointing out, Howard, this is a really soft group just compared to the company that he's been facing. That dinner party over at Pimlico, he did have some trouble there, and that was a good group. A Tietlin prior to that, the race with There Goes Harvard, who he loses to on the lead. Like all those races have better, stronger horses in here. And I think one key point, we all have the 6 somewhere in the mix. Mrs. Astor is actually cross-entered in a race on Saturday. When she would face the gals instead on Saturday, and she's 6-5 on the morning line in that spot. So she very, very logically could go Saturday instead in that spot where she's going to be even money or less. You take her out of this race, then that's going to make Devine Propos even tougher because there are a couple horses in here that really look like filler. That you can kind of eliminate right off the bat and almost seem like they're just really overmatched. We've got a maiden who's never really run anything close to speed figures in the 2 for Arrogate. You've got A horse like Santa Barbarian, who was a 40-1 winner against Calbreds and now steps up against Graded Stakes Company. Those two horses, I'd be really surprised if they were competitive, so they're not going to be in the mix for me. And a horse like Time Song seems like they might be in here just to be more forwardly placed, stretching out. So like, I don't know how many of these horses are legitimate win candidates. And I started eliminating them and thinking, gosh, Devon Propos could maybe be sitting second or third in here if Balladeer goes. I just feel like if it's not this Sunday, Howard, I promise you it's going to be a while before Devon Propos is in the mix for me. It feels like this is about as good of a shot as he's had.
This is always a weird race, Pete and Paul. I don't know how often you bet or watch this race every year, but I do because I bet San Anita usually on Saturdays or Sundays, and I find this distance fascinating. There's been some weird results in this race, and so while I agree, Gino, some of these horses seem like fillers. You got horses like first time trying a distance, all of a sudden they wake up and it's like, ooh, I like this distance. And it just feels like a race that's hard to trust others. That being said, Paul, you're going to also go with Mrs. Astor and Pete's going with Mrs. Astor if she's in the race. And if not, Pete is also going to go with Devine Propos. And Paul, you're going to Devine Propos. Do you want to add anything to what Gino said, either one of you?
No, I like what you said about the distance. I think, and this is anecdotal, I could have looked it up, but it seems to me that horses in this race that go to the lead often keep going, and if not win, are right there at the end. I like the fact that probably the most forward this horse has been was the race Gonzalez rode him in that San Luis Rey that you were talking about, Gino. I think you were talking about that one. I just think, kind of what Gino said. If not today, when? So, probably take more money than he's taken the last few races, but didn't have a great trip last time in Pimlico. One of the many bad trips, and I'm just hoping send him at this distance and get out there running free and clear and try to hold on.
And not to interrupt, Howard, but just something to mention as you were pulling up the projector, sometimes, and for those of the folks who use the Timeform US projector, which I do all the time, I love to look at it and see where they have horses. At the longer distances, you'll kind of see what was happening. They generally just have the horses coming out of shorter races in front, even if they're not really speed horses. So I don't know if the 3 and the 5 will both be in front of Balladeer in here, probably because Balladeer is just coming out of these longer races where the half-mile fractions are quicker. You got to kind of use intent, I think, when they're going longer like this as well, because I feel like Balladeer is going to go, right? This horse has got to be on the front end.
I mean, this is my top pick, guys. And Balladeer got really good 2 years ago, and really last year was pretty good too. This, first time back this year wasn't very good, but last time lost to Charlie winning out to Atitlan. There's no Atitlans in here, and still went 111 and 3 in a 1.25 mile race. So I mean, the speed is still there. Now the blinkers off is very interesting. I just have a feeling that Papadromo was trying to get this horse to relax a little bit with this distance. I don't know if it's going to work out. If this horse is on the lead, I don't even know what to say. I mean, unless the 3 or 5 decide to just gun in a 1.75 mile race, which would shock me. I just think this horse can walk the dog, and he's going to be on the lead, I believe, and he's a pretty good horse. And I don't think a lot of these horses want to pass necessarily. And so to me, it's got to be the 7 or the 8, especially if the 6 is not in here. But look, guys, it's a weird race. I suppose the only wild card to me would be the 1 Nitty, which is an Irish bred. With German breeding. Now the German horses do like to go long. This horse, is barely winning optional 50 claimers, but Gino, this is one of those kind of horses that I was talking about earlier that can sneak up and jump up in form. And I suppose he has to jump up, maybe 3 or 4 lengths, which going 1.75 miles, maybe that's not a lot to ask.
Yeah, and he's had a lot of troubled trips, like legitimate trips that you've looked back at. He's gotten in some trouble, even against Maltese Falcon, 2 starts back. So now you would just expect going a little bit longer. Maybe he's not as far back in this field. Maybe naturally he's just a little bit closer up. He doesn't have as much traffic to deal with. I would have no problem throwing him into the mix. Like if I'm trying to beat Devon Propo. I actually think he's kind of an interesting, feels like kind of a new face going longer, and he's in good form, and I could see them being aggressive with him and trying to get a little closer. So yeah, I wouldn't talk you off him at what would probably be a playable price in here.
Hey,
Yeah,
Howard, you don't need to bring it up, but look at the number one progeny under Make Believe, the sire of Nitty. I think you'll like it.
And who is it?
Take a look.
Oh boy, it's gonna make me.
You'll like it. No, it's a good one. It's not. I'm not poo-pooing you. Yes,
the sibling. Well, we talking about the under the dam?
Are we under the sire, under Make Believe.
Yeah.
You'll like this one.
Under the progeny.
Yeah, the number one.
My boy.
There's your boy. Yep.
Made me I won't say famous, but sort of jumped off the podcast a little bit when I started. Good old Mishriff, yeah.
And we also see the dam on the dam side. The horse name, it's Gino. For Nitty. So I mean,
you got to play the horse then. That was locked, obviously.
I mean, clearly we just have to go with Nitty. We should have started that. We should have started the commentary with Nitty and just move on. You don't need anyone else. Let's go on to the next race, guys. There's a horse in here, Gino. If I recall, you've been trying to chase a little bit with me on a particular show, if I remember correctly. One of the wily veterans in this field. This is race 10. It's an allowance optional, claiming 50. They're going 1 mile. Really interesting field, guys. So there's a combination of salty veterans and some fresh-faced 4-year-olds. This is a really fun race. It's a field of 9. Let's see where we're going to go here in race 10. I'm going 7-2-1. Paul's going 6-1-7. Pete's going 2-7-6. And Gino is going 9-5-7, going with Ayuso. Big fan of Noah Maher, host of Pacific Horse Players, big fan of Ayuso, who, by the way, is riding Nitty. Just keep that in mind, everyone. Gino, positivity. Talk about him.
Yeah, I think Ghazali was the horse you may have been referencing to that I've played a little bit. He actually ran okay last time at a decent price at finishing third. I do think positivity, kind of interesting when you're just sort of looking at this horse, and I'll give you a few different angles. So all of the recent losses for this horses have been in races that were won by the dominant speed horses. Wound Up, loose on the front end. Smooth Cruisin' was sitting second and opened up, got a really great trip. Book Smart, loose on the front end. Roll On Big Joe, sitting second, moved to the front end, got a great trip. So the races that he's losing don't really set up for him. You kind of know what you're going to get. He's a little more of a deeper closer. But now going longer, he actually should be able to sit a little bit closer in here. He only has 4 total races at a mile or above. 3 of them were back in 2020 and 2021. So he's a way different horse now than he was then. In 2023, he ran a mile and he finished 4th in the Bertrando in June at Los Alamitos. I think this race might set up pretty well for him, stretching out a little bit more. And when you're just looking at the class of this field and you're playing the common rival games, a lot of the horses in this group, including 2 of the major contenders, got defeated by Momad. We look just a few starts back and see that Positivity was able to run right by Momad. So I think that this might be a horse who you could get a little value with, who is equally as good as some of the other horses in this field. We know his ceiling is high because he's thrown up 100 by your speed figure. And what I like is that it's not just an outlier. You also have races where he's thrown up a 95, a 98, a 94. So he's had that that class level that he can hit. For me, the real key is how far back is he here? And maybe he doesn't want to go long, right? He hasn't had success going longer, so that might not be what he wants. He's won at 7 furlongs though. So I do think against the right type of field, he might be able to get it. And this might be the right type of field because as Howard was mentioning, it's a fun group to handicap, but there's no monsters. There's nobody that scares the heck out of you. There's just a lot of different horses you could use. One of them for me is going to be Positivity there, who's just really consistent. I feel like he'll give a good effort. He just needs the setup to get the job done.
I don't usually like when a horse is in for 50, but this is a 7-year-old. That doesn't bother me. I'm a little bit concerned on where he's going to be early because when you got the 9 hole going a mile, I usually either needs to send to get position or just completely take back. And if he's going to completely take back, it's got to really melt down. I'm not sure that's going to happen. So I'm a little concerned about the trip situation here, Gino, but in race flow, but I think he's interesting, certainly at a price. Paul, let's go to you. You're going to go with the number 6, Varney, who I'll tell you what, there were some impressive winners Preakness weekend. This one was one of them. 86 buyer, Baffert, 3-year-old, went to the lead, sort of did a crudo, so to speak. This is a much tougher test, but he came back with a very good work, and he's an up-and-coming 3-year-old. This is a pretty aggressive spot by Bob here.
Yeah, I actually, I thought the maiden race he lost at Santa Anita. The goal oriented. We saw well that horse ran and trained. The trainer came back and won last weekend.
Yep.
Eh, yeah, it's an aggressive spot, but maybe the light will have gone on. That certainly has a right to move forward off the 86. You're playing the race now, so how good was that race? 2 horses have come out of it. One ran first, one ran second. One of them was buyer increased, one of them was buyer decreased. So hard to tell, but interesting that Bob shipped the horse across the country to break his maiden. Sure, he was a traveling companion, but I think he can move forward off that race. And I didn't think this was the toughest N1X in the world.
He's worked recently and worked well against a Baffert maiden who's actually starting. Why am I drawing a blank? I think on Saturday, and our same one more time, who's actually debuting for Baffert.
Yep.
Is that Saturday? That right,
Saturday.
Gino? And
yeah, late pick 5.
Completely outworked that horse. We'll talk about that horse tomorrow because Gino, I don't like one more time at all. But that's all the conversation for tomorrow. We'll talk about it. But
little tease.
Varney, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A little bit of a tease there.
A little bit of a tease, yeah. Varney's interesting. I'm curious to see how he does and how he classes up. Pete, you're going to go.
He was favored against Baeza, by the way, in that race 3 back where, it didn't, pulled up. But it was interesting to me that it was actually favored in that race. And now we see how the tables have turned. You see how racing can be crazy like that sometimes.
It sure can. Pony Express. This is one of these fresh race 4-year-olds. I'm going with a different one in this race. You're going to go with this one. Pete, do I have a second? This is Sadler, $500,000 gun runner, ran in the Jim Dandy. Obviously didn't do very well against a horse named Fierceness, ran the Shared Belief. I mean, lost a good horse in Cornell last year. This was a horse that was well meant. It's coming off a bit of a layoff here, quite a long one, but has got some bullet works in the holster. You assume he's going to be on the lead if he breaks. This is a fascinating entrant here for Rispoli riding, Pete.
Yeah, to Gino's point, which Gino was when he was talking about his horse Positivity, he was saying the problem is he always gets behind a horse that gets away and wins. That's what I'm actually hoping for here. I was hoping that Pony Express would be the one that gets away here. And everything you mentioned, I think was, you have to think highly of the horse. The first 2 starts weren't great by any stretch. Then has the great maiden breaker. They say, let's screw it. Let's go in the Jim Dandy, gets on the lead. Let's go in the Shared Belief, gets on the lead. Now loses both of those, but the next one holds on a little bit better against Lesser. The figures are pretty good, but I like what you said. Gun runners, sometimes they get better with age. Yep. So this one could have sort of that natural 3 to 4 progression. And that's what I was hoping is just sort of this horse progresses and we just haven't seen it yet. You see a little bit in the works, but we haven't seen it on the track. And maybe this could be sort of a coming out party to a much improved horse. And Sadler, the stats weren't crazy, but he's pretty solid off this type of layoff. So it was good enough. And you could see in the works that the horse seems ready. So again, I think this horse may get on the lead and then maybe nobody goes with him and he could just take it around the track.
To me, he's very logical if he's ready, and the workouts say that he's ready. I'm going to pick a similar horse, just one that's going to come a little off the pace. But again, this is a 4-year-old who was staked last year. Just lost to Muth in the Shared Belief. Oklahoma Derby to Most Wanted, who we know is a nice horse. Then went to Zia and ran well. This horse ran well. The number 7, Indispensable. Again, this is the other Sadler coming off a layoff, but not nearly as long a layoff. Has not been working bullets, but that's because I think this horse is not necessarily a speed type. I know people see the 1 for 12 and they're like, Howard, why do you like a horse that's 1 for 12? The class guys here is just fantastic. And similar to the gun runners, I always feel like, the constitutions sometimes take a little bit longer to develop also, especially ones that are more off the lead. And this is a horse that doesn't necessarily show early speed. I think he's going to sit a great trip mid-pack, make a big run, maybe be higher odds than the two here. We don't have morning lines. You have indispensable in third. West Point Thoroughbreds, by the way, shout out to them.
Completely agree with a couple of the points that you made. Like if you're looking at this horse in the workouts and comparing to the other saddler, well, that horse is quicker early and will probably always be a better workhorse. And exactly what you were talking about with Constitution, we saw it with Indispensable towards the end of last year. That major improvement this horse showed when breaking the maiden. And look at how the speed figures just jumped up. They went right up into the 90s and they stayed there consistently for 4 straight races throughout the end of the year. So you saw just a better horse last year. And both of these saddler runners, as I think Pete was pointing out, like Sadler is super capable off the bench like this. The numbers are super. I think they were around like 18% over the last 5 years, if you want, and like $1.55 ROI. So they get horses ready to rock off the bench. If Varney pushes Pony Express and even a horse like Tranch is forwardly placed there, then that could set up really well for Indispensable sitting off the pace.
Yeah, no doubt. I just think one of these fresh-faced 4-year-olds has a big shot to win. We have almost 500 people, Gino, watching live right now. Really appreciate it on everything. Just to let everyone know once again, this is our last Great Race Plays show. Hopefully, Anita will pick us up in the fall and winter. So go ahead and contact Anita through a DM or email or whatever. Let people know the track. Hey, let's bring back HHH Racing Podcast when Anita starts again. And just because we have so many people that are on now that weren't on before, just a reminder, we have 2 shows, live shows for Royal Ascot. We have a preview show on Sunday and then live Tuesday morning. It is quite early on the West Coast, 6 a.m., but we have live racing with unbelievably great Euro punters, handicappers, along with myself and some other HHH hosts. So check us out Sunday and Tuesday for Royal Ascot action live right here on the podcast. Guys, we'll go through the last 2 races a little more quickly as we spent a bunch of time early on here. Race 11, there's you see our picks on the bottom of the screen. It is down the hill, optional allowance claiming 50. It's a big field of 10. Bad Uncle Barry has been gelded, the number 10. Again, we don't have morning lines. Some of these horses are in for 50. Some are not. You see scrolling on the bottom of the screen if you are watching this live or as a replay. I'm going 5-2-8. Paul's going 8-5-2. Pete is going 5-8-2. And Gino is also going 5-8-2. So mainly a lot of 2s, 5s, and 8s for sure. Junior, you're going to go with Beef Winslow, a Florida bred for one of 3 for Glatt. This one has been ridden by Lascano.
Yep, and I think a horse who has some versatility, who's going to make the 3rd start of the form cycle now after a long, long layoff. So you figure this guy could take even one more step forward up towards what his peak is, which is like a 96 Beyer speed figure, and he's moving right back in that direction towards that. He's run well at a mile to 6.5. He's pretty versatile too. He doesn't have to be far back, but if they go quick, he'll come back early and make one late run. So I think he's just really solid, makes a whole lot of sense, and will probably be one of the top contenders and favorites in here. Doncic, same thing. Shout out to Luka, looking a little thinner already in the offseason workout, which I love. You're seeing him lose a few pounds in the face. So just get ready for the monster Luka Doncic season next year. Doncic has run well at 6.5 furlongs, drawn well towards the outside. Another horse who just fits, makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, with the downhill races, we generally like to use the horses who have shown that they can run well down the hill. And another one of those would be Daniel's Magic in here, who's down towards the inside, who goes second start back off the bench. He's proven at 6.5. So the 3 of them make a lot of sense. And I think we all have those 3 in just slightly different ways, shapes, or forms. Neither one of those 3, any one of those 3 wouldn't shock me at all. And they'll probably all be in my pick 4s, pick 5s, and late exotics.
And Daniel's Magic's actually cross-entered into a race on Saturday. And Gino, I should have probably talked about this way before tonight, but for people that are not quite as experienced handicappers, especially with Anita, can you explain to people the designation in the PPs, the difference between the downhill 6.5 and the flat 6.5 for people that don't know where to look? And they say, wait a minute, I see 2 6.5 furlongs. Which one was down the hill and which one wasn't? Because we know how much experience down the hill matters.
It's a great point. You see the little asterisk with the 6.5, and that notes that it's down the hill. So if you're looking at Daniel's Magic, for example, if you go back to 2023, you can see December 30th, 2023, there's a 6.5 furlong race with no asterisk. That means it's on the straight course. The next race following that on January 28th, that one has an asterisk. That was the Clocker's Corner. So that means it was down the hill. So if you see that little asterisk, that's the difference. And it lets you know that it was run down the hill. And generally, just a couple small things about that. The 6.5 flat turf courses play a little better to the speeds. And it's much tougher for horses that are drawn to the outside to win
Right.
and to get a good trip. And then down the hill, it's actually the opposite. If you draw outside, you get the better trip because the layout of the downhill course. So, and that actually plays a little bit better to like milers and horses who have gone a little farther. So that's not always the case, but just a couple notes if you're kind of quick handicapping those two surfaces and the difference between the turf courses there.
I'm chuckling not because of the explanation, because Paul, as if this game isn't tough enough for newer handicappers. They got to figure out, wait, so one course you want to be in the outside to start, one course you want to be in, like what? It's confusing, Paul, but you like Doncic also.
Yeah, well, when you're on the outside, Gino, you're closer to that right-hand turn you have to make before you have to make the left-hand turn.
Yep.
It's very logical to me.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I think Doncic's races are pretty good. Both of the last two. Seren claimed him two back and then ran him last time. Two different type of races. Both ran second. Frezu ends up here. Hernandez opts to stay on Brendan Galvin's horse, Miss Joe's Galvin. I'm a Frezu fan, especially on turf, so I have no problem with that. You know, this horse is more than half the time in the exacta, on a little bit of a 5-race losing streak, but I think in for the tag. I think this is a time to snap out of it.
He got a good trip last time, although he was inside. I think I bet him that day because I think on the 32 claiming race, I thought he had a little bit of a weird trip, and I thought he was moving up in form, which he was. I was a little disappointed he couldn't beat Regal Patriot last time. Your thoughts, Pete, in this race? We'll go on to the last one.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything. Not too much to add. I think Doncic, we've seen a few of these shows too. So we've talked about that horse up and down. The only thing I had on Beef Winslow that I was going to, and I think Gino sort of touched on it. My only concern was some of the races where he's used to being a little bit more forward or at least sort of stalking position, but they're a little slower. And I thought my one concern with him and why I wound up waffling, even though I wound up putting him on top in the end, was what if he just gets left a little bit early, because I think there's more speed in here than some of the recent races, and he gets a trip more like the 1-2 back where he's just stuck a little further back. So if he's the favorite, I think that's a reason why you can look at it and go, maybe he gets stuck a little far back, leaves himself too much to do, and then you wind up taking someone that's a little more forwardly placed.
There are two main reasons I like Beef Winslow. One is I love turnbacks. And number two, this horse really likes the downhill turf course. I have nothing else to add. I'm going 5-2-8. Let's go to last race, guys. Race 12, the last race of the 2025 Hollywood Meet at Santa Anita. They'll go to Los Al, and then they'll go to the beautiful warm beaches, well, sometimes warm, of Del Mar Racetrack, which is always a wonderful meet there. I'm going to go 7-2-1 in the last race. Let me go ahead and bring it up on the screen right now. Whoop, I had it right there. I'm going to go 7-2-1. Paul's going 7-1-8. Pete's going 7-9-4. And hey, let's just kick off the last race with all going at the same horse. Gino's going 7-11-9. This is a difficult 6 furlong maiden special weight, Cal bred, 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. Field of 13, including Tiger Fire, the 13, who is an AE. We're all going with Gaddafi, I believe it's pronounced, for Dan Blacker and Fresu, Gino, to get paid in the last race of the meet.
7 will be a very important number for me in this late sequence, because I may have one ticket where I'm singled with Devon Propos to start, and then in that tough 10th race, going to use all or as many as I can, because that's that tricky race where there's a lot of different horses to use. We talked about maybe shortening up with using a couple logical horses in the downhill turf race, and then I can probably have one ticket where I'm singled to Godavari here, because if this horse just shows back up with that same effort that she put forth on April the 26th, she probably wins this race. If she shows any improvement at all, she will certainly win this race. She just ran exactly like a horse that needed the race. She hadn't run in 10 months. She was off from July all the way till the end of April. She had a good start. She was inside. She backed off a little bit. She angled to the 2-path. She moved to the lead. She opened up in the early stretch. She got a little bit tired, and she had every reason to get a little bit tired. Here she is just getting tired late. And I mean, I thought this is a pretty good performance. Again, if you just reproduce this, everyone else is going to be really needing to step up from what we've seen, or one of these first-time starters is going to have to be very, very good and ready. And that was kind of my problem in this race, Howard. I didn't really love a lot of the first-time starters and what they've been showing and their pedigrees and necessarily their barns first time out. So with this experienced runner, I thought Godavari was going to be pretty tough. Others to include, even one more point, that the horse who ran behind her that I think people might make a case for, the one, Clubhouse Cutie, she draws the rail, which could make things a little trickier for her in this spot. So I think the 7 looks good. I included horses like the 9, Bella, whose cutback helps. The 11 I thought was kind of an interesting wild card, trying turf for the first time, down toward the outside. But I think the 7 fits really, really well, and probably most of my tickets will be single to this horse.
Yeah, I didn't love the visual of that race overall. I mean, Godavari got beat by a first-time starter who was 19-1. No one else really ran. That's my only. I was ready to beat this horse as I'm handicapping Gino, but unless I see something pop up in the workout report or whatever, there's just a lot of horses here that I just don't know if they can run well first time out. And I'm very happy to do that. I did that in the pick 6 last Sunday when I had 5 out of 6 with a really nice horse for Little Red Feather, who won the last race last weekend on Sunday. But I just don't see that kind of horse in here. Pete, I'm assuming you sort of feel the same way.
Yeah, I didn't have too many negatives for this horse, which is why I wound up landing on her on top. The one thing I will say too, Windspeed, who was, like you said, was a pretty big price when won that race, did come back and run third in an optional claiming 50 and backed up the buyer at least.
True.
So at least it was sort of a logical buyer that seems to make sense. So like I think, like Gino said, it's hard to leave this one off a ticket because on paper everything looks pretty good, and the rest of the field it's a lot of question marks. Although I can feel like if you don't go 7, you could probably. I had about 5 or 6 potential horses in here, or like top 3 potential horses that I was considering. So I think you can go nuts if you're against the 7, or if you just want to spread a little bit and hope that maybe the horse tires one more time and you can get a horse going by late.
I will say, even though I don't have the horse in the mix, because I need to see workout report, Lavender Love is a little bit interesting to me for Baltus. The got some bullet works in the holster, and I like the breeding. I'm just curious to see what the workout report says on Lavender Love. I just wanted to throw that out to everyone. Any thoughts for you, Paul? And then we'll get Gino's final thoughts, wrap up the show.
No, I was just going to say, there are 3 first-time starters. A race like this, any of these maiden races, obviously, you take a look at them and you decide. And as you say, you need workout reports to really do it, but nothing's really jumping off the page. We're not going to have the benefit of the board when we're playing the pick 4 and the pick 5. But so going to the ones who've raced, as Gino said, and on the one hand, Howard, this Godavari took a lead in the stretch and really had no excuse not to win. On the other hand, 73 buyer, unless one of these first timers pops up, of the ones who have run, the 9 who Gino mentioned started with a 69, has gone regress twice. 73. I think this horse will move forward, but even a 73. I think is good enough to win here. And
of course, should we say together, guys, sired by Om. We love Om on this show, Gino. What a cool horse. What a cool horse that was.
Defeated American Pharoah.
Oh, for sure. Let's go to our best bets. Paul and Gino, you can give yours in just a second because I didn't get yours. Paul, you're gonna go to race 10, which is the second leg. You're gonna play a double 6-7 with 8. Remind everyone who the 8 is in race
Doncic.
11.
Doncic.
There you go. Doncic
Luka
playing
Doncic.
a double there. And speaking, it's never too late to mention this, guys. And I've done it every great race play, so why should everything different? There is, let me take the banner off the screen. There are many great bets that Gino has mentioned. I love the betting platform. I hope Anita continues it. And one of them, of course, is that the late pick 3 and the $5 double. Let's take a look at those two fantastic bets right now.
Now offered at the Great Race Plays. $3 late pick 3 featuring the last 3 races. $5 late double on the last 2 races. Both with a player-friendly 15% takeout. Every race day at Santa Anita Park.
There we go. There's my Frankie imitation. Of course, the $3 turf pick 3 also is a fun bet. Pete, your best bet is one of those special bets, $3 pick 3, 2-7 with 2-5-8 with 4-7-9-11. That is a $72 play. And then in race 11, the penultimate leg of the sequence, you're going to play another special bet, the $5 double. The 3 horses we mentioned, 2-5-8 with 4-7-9-11. So Pete, you're going to try to you're going to use the 7, but you're going to try to beat her also. That's a $60 play.
Yeah, and sometimes too it stinks when we don't have the morning lines because if that bet doesn't make sense based on the odds, it could change. But yeah, I figure again, I think you can get a little nuts if the 7 doesn't win. I think I like that 11 you mentioned, Gino, the one who hasn't been on the turf. There's just some funny statistics and some breeding stuff that I think the post is a little scary, but I think everything else maybe leans, and I think that one could get lost in the betting a little bit.
That'd be Uptown Preacher is the horse that they are speaking of. My best bet would be actually it says race 7. That is not, hold on. That's not the right one, I don't believe. I'll find my best bet. Gino, before I find my best bet, any best bets or thoughts you have with late pick 4 or, a ticket construction, anything you want to talk to the viewers and listeners about?
Yeah, talk you through a few. I'm probably going to single Devon Propos to start, especially if Mrs. Astor ends up running on Saturday instead. Then a horse in race 10 that I will be using in a wide open race is the number 9 Positivity. That's going to be maybe a little bit more of an outside of the box horse that won't be on everybody's tickets. Following that, Beef Winslow will absolutely be on the ticket for me. So a couple horses in that sequence that'll be in the mix for me in the pick 4. And just a reminder too, because it is that mandatory payout day, if you're already looking at these races, put a few bucks in on the pick 6 and the pick 5 too, because those things are going to pay out no matter what on Sunday.
That's a good point. I don't have a banner for it, guys, but I really do like Indispensable coming off the layoff. That's one of those newly turned 4-year-olds in race 10. I would either go with Pete's 2 or my 7 Indispensable against Positivity brazenly. And that's a really nice allowance race there, race 10. Gino, want to thank you again for coming on, man. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you won't be a stranger to the podcast. We'll get you on for some other things, especially when DRF comes out with some new products or some information or any type of any racing California style. Do you want to say anything else to the viewers or listeners out there for closing weekend Santa Anita or DRF going forward?
Shop.drf.com for everything you need. And you guys have officially now become my favorite trio, including a Peter and a Paul. It used to be Mary. Now it's Peter, Paul, and Howard up there as the number 1 trio, including a Peter and a Paul. And enjoy talking with you guys. You always kind of lead me to a horse or two that wasn't on my radar. So I respect all 3 of your handicapping, and I wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thanks,
Gino.
Take care.
We'll let you go. Good luck this weekend. We'll be talking soon, my friend.
Good luck, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye. All right, Gino Piccola, guys, does a great job. Really appreciate him coming on. We're going to wrap this up, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Again, I want to thank Andrew Arthur, Jeff Chapman, anyone involved with Santa Anita. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope to be back. We'll keep everyone informed with great race plays. If you're only watching great race plays, why aren't you watching our other wonderful shows? We have Pacific Horse Players, which our great younger guys cover on Tuesday nights. We have a special tip sheet for Del Mar that is starting next month. Please go to our podcast, our not podcast, our online website. Thank you. Long day. Go to our website.
Online site. You sound like a 90. You sound like the
Ugh.
90-year-old Paul there. Online site, the internets.
Yeah, what's that thing with the go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, and find out all about our Del Mar Power Picks, which are going to be coming up in July next month, and got a lot of stuff going on. Pete and Paul, final thoughts, guys. Del Mar, San Diego has been a lot of fun.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm way past my bedtime at my age, Pete. I think this is an Iron Man performance at my age, and but it's Edmonton is tied at 3 after down 3-0. They've tied at 3-3.
Oh,
So
they
I'll be
did. Oh,
staying
good.
up.
I got to
I'll
get
be
on that.
staying up for.
Wow.
I'll be staying up for at least another period.
Let's just not stay like we don't need about 2 or 3 more overtimes for you. We don't need you to do. Can I give one shout out? Non-horse racing. We talk about horses who have to go to the farm for a bit because they get a little injured in the racing. My little puppy upstairs, Guppy, who has been a guest on the show once or twice. She had 2 torn ligaments in her knee and had surgery on Monday. So she's not feeling so good. So I got to get upstairs, and we have a little room cordoned off that I'm sleeping in with her. So we'll try to get her to races as soon as possible. But right now she's on the mend on the farm, and we're gonna, she needs a little love and care.
A little TLC. All right. Well, we hope Guppy feels better. We'll let you get to Guppy right now. For Pete Visco and Paul Howard, this has been your very proud host of our newest show, Great Race Plays, covering the Great Race Place, San Anita, their late pick 4 on Sundays. Have a terrific summer, everyone. Please make sure you check out our many other shows and our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Crush your bets on closing day at San Anita. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.